this is a good tactic, I think, for anyone who wants to improve their confidence. First thing to remember is nobody else cares about your life as much as you do. And what that means is that people don't remember your blunders. Like, to the people that are listening, when was the last time that you saw someone garble their words or drop a drink on themselves or stumble down some steps? Like, I bet that you can't remember. And the fact that you can't remember means that when that does happen, because it is happening all around you all the time, it just bypasses you. And there's this quote, I can't remember whose grandmother it was. I think it might have been Morgan Housel's grandmother, who said, we would care a lot less about what other people think about us if we realized how rarely they did.
Okay, we're back. Hello, Chris. Welcome to the Social Conversation.
Hey, man.
How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Nice to be on the other side of the microphone / video camera for once.
So obviously we're kind of dealing with a little bit of a crisis at the moment. How are you dealing with life in lockdown?
Life in lockdown for me hasn't changed a massive amount. Obviously, for people who don't know, I run nightclubs. I've been a club promoter for 13 years. So some of the biggest events in Newcastle, Leeds, Manchester, things that I do. So I'm no longer working until 3 a.m. That's the major difference. But interestingly, that actually has a bunch of downstream effects. So, for instance, my sleep and wake time for the first time, literally since I've been an adult, is now stable. My daily routine for the first time since I've been an adult is now stable, which is super bizarre for me. I'm just waiting for the proverbial bus to come in and sideswipe my day, and it keeps on not happening. So, yeah, it hasn't changed a massive amount. Obviously, the social isolation thing's challenging, but I'm fortunate I live with 2 housemates that I get on with. Weather's been amazing so far in the UK. I don't know where people are listening from, but especially up north in the UK, the weather's been perfect. So, the train outside. So, yeah, I'm settled in nice. How about you?
Good. I mean, working from home, as you know, is pretty easy for me.
Isn't your name
full desk setup?
Your name in your work Facebook group chat was redone before isolation to just works from home, wasn't it?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. That says everything, really, doesn't it?
Mate, you were doing social isolation before social isolation was cool.
That's very true. I can't understand why everyone's kind of up in arms about it all. I enjoy it. It's great.
Fucking bliss. Yeah. Well, Yusuf, co-host of Modern Wisdom, and some of your listeners might be familiar with him as well. He's a junior doctor on the ITU at the moment, and he says he wishes that he could socially isolate. Yeah. He's like, lockdown for people is a privilege. Like, think about the guys that are doing 13, 14-hour shifts, just constantly dealing with people in the healthcare industry, So, yeah, cool. I'm glad, man. I'm glad that you're settling into it. It's not as if I was ever concerned that you were going to be a challenge, you were going to have any challenges when you were in lockdown.
It seems like, at least from my perspective, people who are kind of more introverted seem to be dealing with lockdown a lot better than those who are more extroverted.
Yeah, of course. I'm good at fixing problems. So I posted on my Instagram a little while ago the question box and said, anyone got any problems? Let me know. I'll see if I can fix them. And people are saying, I'm struggling with my daily routine. I'm like, okay, well, you need to set yourself some rules and guidelines, go to sleep at the same time, wake up at the same time, have a stable work schedule, make sure you get fresh air, sunlight, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing the other. And a couple of people messaged and said, my proclivity is, I'm quite extroverted and I'm really struggling with not having people around me. And obviously as well, if you perhaps live in a house on your own, or you live in a house with housemates that you didn't choose, it could be in a house share in London or whatever, just as a young professional, that could be quite challenging as well. So, it's one of the few times where there is a competitive advantage to being an introvert. But the interesting thing with that is that for the most part, people that are extroverts have the competitive advantage. So in pretty much all day-to-day life, your social connection with people, it's a cliche to say it's not what you know, it's who you know. If you don't like to know people, that puts you on the back foot against people that do like to know people. But tables have turned a little bit now, And I think a lot of extroverts and also people that were originally heavily reliant on the structure provided to them by their work, their boss, their business, their family, maybe their gym routine, whatever it might be, they are now feeling the pain of discipline that those of us who have worked more nomadically from home or on our own terms for a little while have already had to take the red pill on.
Yeah, well said. So yourself as a podcaster, pretty, I would say, very well known nowadays, up to nearly 200 episodes of Modern Wisdom. Is that right?
100 and so recorded 160, published 155, something like that. Yeah,
and that's in about 2 years.
2 years, man. Yep.
Why podcasting? What do you enjoy about this format?
So I was very fortunate. I got invited onto the Propane Fitness podcast. That's Johnny and Yusuf, propanefitness.com, and they have been doing it since like the first episode went out in like 2012 or 2013. They've literally been doing it for forever. And I got invited on. I really enjoyed the process. If there's people listening who enjoy podcasts, I genuinely think that there's a high likelihood that you will enjoy the process of podcasting, and you'll know what I'm about to say because you've heard me say this a million times. Also, for anyone that's listening that doesn't know what Dean does, Dean is the video guy for Modern Wisdom. We're 50% on the business and all the rest of the stuff. So the fact that these roles have been reversed, Dean is now the host and talking to me and asking questions, and also it feels there's a high amount of anxiety for me because I know Dean knows what I'm going to say, because there's only so many things I've got to say. And when you've heard every episode front to back on an edit, obviously you know what I'm going to say. So I'm desperately trying to think, right, how can I be interesting? So I got something that's new for Dean. So if you enjoy listening to podcasts, you enjoy listening to audiobooks, I think that it is a good strategy for you to have a 30-minute phone call or conversation with a friend, one-to-one, every week. Book it in, treat it like a podcast. And I found the process of having that deep conversation to be very therapeutic. I found it honed my thinking skills. It's one of the biggest upgrades I've made in a number of different personal development, self-development strategies I've used. It's probably given me the single greatest return, apart from maybe sleeping with my phone outside of my room or going sober. I'd say it's between those three, because everything that you do is to do with communication. So anyway, I loved it, really enjoyed the process, thought, I really wish I could do more of these. But hang on, I can. I'll just start my own. So I did, got fortunate with a couple of big guests early on, and then ran away from there. Me and you have been working together in one form or another. I got you into nightclub promo, like, God, fucking what a curse that was. I got you in a nightclub promo like 4 years ago, and then obviously you smashed that, made a big name for yourself doing that, which I think was great. And then you and Rob came and filmed one episode for us. That episode did 250,000 views. Now, like to date, it's done 250,000 views out of nowhere, which is also very bizarre for long form video to do that many views, right? You don't get very many, this fucking Ben Greenfield's first episode on Joe Rogan's only done 2.5 times that. It's fucking Joe Rogan. So, it was good. And yeah, since then, 2 episodes a week. I literally have got to speak to some of the people that I get to talk to. I couldn't pay them. There is no amount of money that I could pay to get an hour of Aubrey Marcus's time or Ben Greenfield's time or Paul Bloom's time or fucking Professor David Sinclair, one of the 50 most influential health professionals on the planet, just invited me into his office and showed me his laboratory for 3 hours. Like a private tour by him would cost. So, that's out. And the other side of it as well is the audience gets to come along with this journey as well. It's not just something that's very selfishly done for yourself. Whatever you produce then benefits the audience, and they kind of come along on the journey with you as well. And it's the right amount for someone who is socially capable but introverted. It's the precise right amount of interaction between you and other people, like totally on your terms. They can't, you're saying the things mostly, and then sometimes they respond. It's brilliant.
Have you got a favorite guest from Modern Wisdom?
Fucking hell. It's like trying to choose your favorite child.
Out of 150 guests that you've had on.
Yeah, exactly. I love the ones with Johnny and Yusuf, and especially because you're there for pretty much all of them. You get to come round, you set up, we have great banter beforehand. Yusuf starts doing some weird stretches. We sit down, we do an episode, we take a break, we have a knocko, we have a bear bells. It's like, it is precisely how I would choose to spend an evening, like 3 of my best mates talking, producing content. I feel like I'm creating well, but I'm also having a laugh and blah, blah. So those are great. Rory Sutherland, episode 49 was phenomenal. Richard Shotton, just a total low key dude in the dark who nailed it. So that's 2 episodes on behavioral economics. Ben Greenfield's one that went out this week was ridiculous. And probably I keep linking people to Aubrey Marcus's. If people are like, I want to have an understanding of what modern wisdom is, I linked them to the one with Aubrey Marcus, one of the biggest podcasters on the planet, CEO of On It, business partners with Joe Rogan, and just a very wise man. So yeah, there's some.
Where do you kind of choose these guests from? Do you just kind of like either follow them on social media or something and just think, I would really like to have a conversation with that person?
Yeah, that's the best place to start. Also, when you're doing 100 episodes a year, which is currently the current output, you have to have a lot of guests. Like there's a requirement there for you to constantly be looking for people. And at the moment, for the first time ever, you'll know this because of the edit pile, that we're actually out ahead. So we're 3 weeks out, 6 episodes in the bank. Listen, can you hear that? Can you not hear that?
I can't.
Fuck, this mic's good. That is the ice cream van going past outside. Lockdown. Ice cream van driving around Gosforth. Honestly, yep. Unbelievable.
You wouldn't expect anything less.
I know, yeah. So, yeah, people that I'm interested in. Basically, I get to just chat to random geniuses, like the smartest people on the planet. I get to share oxygen or bandwidth with them. So I just find someone that I'm interested in and say, hey, you look fun, or you look interesting, or you look whatever. And, like the failure rate, I think I've only ever recorded 4 episodes out of nearly 200 that I didn't publish because I didn't think that they were up to scratch. So vast majority of the time when you get people that understand the work that well and you can host it and guide the conversation, you end up with just pearls.
Do you ever feel like you're kind of out of your depth with some of these people? Like David Sinclair, for example, who's just like boggles my mind just how much that guy knows. Do you ever feel like you're kind of out of depth?
So there's been a couple of times I've got nervous. I got nervous with a guy called Jordan Hall because he's just crazy clever. He's essentially a different species to me. I got nervous with Robert Greene for the same reason, like 5 times New York Times bestselling author. Like, what the fuck do you say to Robert Greene? David Sinclair and stuff. So this is a good tactic, I think, for anyone who wants to improve their confidence is twofold. First thing to remember is nobody else cares about your life as much as you do. And what that means is that you don't need to worry about your blunders because no one else can fucking remember them in any case. Am I right to, are we sweary away on this? Or am
we're fine.
Are you going to bleep me? Lovely. Sorry, Mum. Oh, I got to bring this up. Jeez, right. So Dean releases one of the early episodes. Was it episode 1 or episode 2?
Second episode just went out.
And what happened?
My mum called me up merely a couple of hours afterwards. Oh, I really like that thing that you put on Facebook, but you need to stop swearing though. If you're going to do more of that, don't swear on the podcast. Tell your friend as well. Tell your friend not to swear. I was sorry, Mum. Sorry.
So Dean put a status up that said precisely that, and I tagged my mum and said that her and your mum would make great friends because that's all that my mum says. It's all that she says. She saw me or managed to catch the back end of an Instagram story of me dancing to Miley Cyrus Party in the USA and telling my flatmates to fuck off because it's a banger, which it is. Like, there is no denying that song is a complete anthem. And she said, Christopher, stop swearing in your garden. I'm like, it's my garden.
It's my garden.
Where am I supposed, if there's like, unbelievable. So yeah, I've got nervous a couple of times, but first things first, people don't remember your blunders. Like, to the people that are listening, when was the last time that you saw someone garble their words or drop a drink on themselves or stumble down some steps? Like, I bet that you can't remember. And the fact that you can't remember means that when that does happen, because it is happening all around you all the time, it just bypasses you. And there's this quote, I can't remember whose grandmother it was. I think it might have been Morgan Housel's grandmother, who said, we would care a lot less about what other people think about us if we realized how rarely they did.
Yeah, I like that.
And you're like, there it is. There it is, especially in the 21st century when everyone's neurotically bothered about their own life. Like, you don't have anything to worry about. You don't. And being weird is a superpower. Like, it genuinely is. Like, your unique offering to the world is the amalgamation of all of the different things that you have. It's the background for you, it's the background in lifestyle photography and doing tons and tons and tons of stock stuff, and then also being able to do video, and then also being able to do long format, and then going into nightclub photography, and then going to, you know what I mean? That's why. And that means that you create your own category. In a category of one, you are always the top. I mean, you're also always the bottom, but you need to remember about that. But in a category of one, you're always the top, and that's a real power. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing is what Joe Rogan does very well, and this is something that I learned from him. He doesn't ever see himself as an authority on many subjects, except for perhaps like the ones that he is. UFC and comedy and Brazilian jiu-jitsu and maybe a bit of training and stuff. But for the most part, he is self-lambasts, very deprecating. He says, I'm a dummy. I'm just an idiot. And like, one of mine, like, I'm an avatar for the layperson. That's my equivalent. Like, I say it all the time, and that allows you to get away with asking dumb questions. So you can speak to a world expert about longevity and telomeres and stuff and ask, is that a hedgehog playing tennis on your blackboard? It's obviously not. It's some complex genomic sequence or some shit. But I can say, is that a hedgehog? And then by doing that, it makes the conversation more casual. So I think this is where, like, the world of new media, and you guys are helping with this, right? Like, pushing natural, organic, mindful, sort of well-delivered content, by putting that out and by people seeing less of the super slick, kind of the polished press side view of people. And that includes, like, from Jennifer Aniston, who just got Instagram recently, right through to like any politician or whatever. It permits them greater slippage when it comes to doing the press conference. Boris Johnson's a perfect example. If you've seen Boris Johnson do a selfie iPhone story about how he's feeling, you don't mind so much when he goes out and goes, well, the way that we need to do it, everybody needs, the pubs, they're a British institute. And you're like, I don't mind the fact that he garbles a little bit, or Trump. I don't mind the fact that in terms of a delivery, like, forget the politics. I don't mind that, because you know what they're like. You've already got to see, like, I know what his dog's called. I know what his wife's called. I know the way that he looks in the morning, like that sort of stuff. So again, those two things, confidence, like being weird is your superpower, and the fact that people don't remember what your blunders at all because they're so self-involved. And the second one being that if you don't take yourself too seriously, it really removes any awkwardness from the conversation, which is great. And obviously experience helps. You know, I used to get super nervous, and now, you know, do anything twice a week for an hour and you get pretty good. You know, you could masturbate twice a week for an hour and you'd probably be like, you'd have a notable improvement in your performance.
Yeah,
after that.
I suppose you would. Yeah. That's
anyone who wants to try, then DMD.
Please don't.
DM James Ogilvy. DM him.
Yeah. Just send it all to James. He'll have a good time with that. Yeah. Anyone who follows you on social media, which will probably be everyone who listens to this, they'll know that you're a big advocate for sobriety. So the main question is, why sobriety? What does it mean to you?
So, as I said, I'm a club promoter. I've seen 1 million drunk people going to nightclubs, and I got to appreciate how alcohol does and doesn't serve your life. I needed more time. About 3 years ago, I needed more time to spend on projects that I wanted to do, like this, the podcast. like personal development. And I realized that drinking, firstly, wasn't teaching me anything. So I had nothing left to learn. Every time that I went out, it just took me to the same place. I don't mean like spatially the same place. It wasn't like I always ended up in Flares or something.
The same club.
It was.
I mean, if you always ended up in Flares, that would be.
Flares,
oh God,
smashed it. So it took me mentally to the same place. It was a depressive. On the day after, it meant that my routine was thrown off. I've already mentioned that I have an inconsistent routine. If there's any shift workers that are listening, they'll know the same. You know, like life is hard enough without you making it harder for yourself. And if you don't drink, the only time that your routine gets thrown off is either when you're ill or due to a lack of motivation. That's what I've found. And a hangover is self-induced illness and a lack of motivation enrolled into one.
Yeah, it's both of the things.
Yeah, you know? So I just thought, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to, I'm going to try and go sober for 6 months. Loved it. Really thought I had more time, had more money, had more calories, just had freed up everything that I needed in life. That's almost all of the problems of everyone that's listening comes down to having either too much or not enough of calories, time, and money. That's it. You're either eating too much or not enough. You either have too much money and you're getting off your face, or you don't have enough money, or you're either too busy or you got too much spare time and you need to reinvest it. So I was like, right, if I can open all this up, and it permitted me to do so much. Like in the last 3 years, I've achieved more than I probably did in the last 5 before that, like outside of that for myself. So yeah, did it, been on and off essentially for 3 years now. This current stint is 19 and a half months deep. I am into sobriety, but you know, I'll flip the question around and ask you, because you took the red pill on drinking over a year ago now. What was your reason? Was it just FOMO about me saying it was good? Was it, why?
It was a mix of that. Because the notion never really was thrown my way beforehand. You know, someone saying that I'm going to stop drinking, it's always a bit like, why? Do they have a problem? But then reframing it in a way of thinking, you know, if you get rid of that, then you give yourself so much more time to do other things. And when I first did it, I think at the time I sold my car, and I started like pretty heavily, you know, started saving money, and I managed to save like a hell of a lot of money in, you know, the 6 months after I stopped drinking. And at that point I was like, oh my God, this is like a superpower.
Something to it.
Yeah. You can't do anything. You can't not do anything else that'll give you that much gains. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? It is an inflection point in terms of lifestyle change. Yeah.
And, you know, if there's people listening who think, I don't really get what they're talking about, I don't have a problem with drinking, where they're both like closet alcoholics. It's like your drinking doesn't have to be a problem for you to have a drinking problem. Like, it's the fact of the matter is that you would be a better version of you if you didn't drink for 6 months. If I was to take Dean in Universe 1 and Dean in Universe 2, and Dean in Universe 2 drank twice a week and Dean in Universe 1 didn't drink at all, Universe 1 Dean is ahead. I don't know by how much, but he's ahead. And in some of those versions, he's ahead by an awful lot. Time, money, calories, consistency, routine, mental state, you know, emotional health, connection to others, development of confidence, all that sort of stuff. So I did it. I loved it. And if anyone is interested or wants to find out more, just go to 6monthssober.com. That's the number 6monthssober.com. That's a course that I created. I loved it so much that I decided to write a guide on how to do it. And that's it, man. You know, when you believe in a productivity tool so much that you end up creating an entire school off the back of it, I think that's probably a pretty good advocation for it being a good tactic.
Definitely. When I started doing it, I also at the same time started waking up like consistently at the same time in the morning, which Adam always has a go at me for, because every time I mention it, that I wake up at 6 a.m. every day, he's like, weird. Why do you do that? And well, the response always is like, I've got too much to do and I don't have enough hours in the day. So if I continue to wake up, you know, half an hour before I needed to leave to go to work, I wouldn't be getting getting any work done. So waking up at like 6 a.m. every day, no matter if I'm on lockdown or not, gives me like an extra hour or two to get ahead of everything else in my day. And plus, it just helps, routinize my day and, set me up to be, to have a good day, basically.
That's it, man. I mean, even more so in lockdown, right? The people who are doing their conkers right now that are at home are the ones who don't understand how to develop a routine. And if you had to make a conscious decision every time you had to do an action in your life, you would be completely exhausted. There's some fairly robust evidence that says 80% of the thoughts that we have today are ones that we had yesterday, and 50% of those are ones that we had the day before. And around about 80 to 90% of our actions are completed subconsciously every day. So what you want to do is try and automate as many of those actions as you can. You don't want to have to think. If you have to think, and there are people out there, one of them's me, every day, what time am I going to wake up? That's an exhausting question to answer. You go to bed, tonight it's 10 o'clock, tomorrow it's 11 o'clock, the night after it's 4 a.m., this, that, you're all over the place, you sleep. It is so much easier. And the same thing goes for diet, the same thing goes for training. If you have a routine that takes care of the difficult things that can be automated, it leaves you more mental room to use that cognitive power that you've got on the stuff that only you can do, the contingency questions. Like, you can't scale. A client comes to you or the guys at Social Co and says, hey, we're Skoda, we want you to do our new Skoda Fabia advert. You can't scale that level, that bit of creativity. That has to be done in terms of a contingency. And that's the same for most conversations at work. But it's not like waking up is the same thing every day. It's precisely the same thing every day. And for the people who might wake up at the same time, but then hit the snooze button in varying gradations of like fierceness, then the quote that completely killed the snooze button for me, and I promise you I haven't touched it since, is hitting the snooze button is like saying, I hate waking up so much that you choose to do it multiple times per day.
Oh, wow. If that doesn't put it in perspective, then oh my God.
It makes your genitals go inside you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It's one of those, yeah. So, yeah, man, like I say, I like it.
What really helped with me to stop pressing the snooze button is that this was like before I moved here and had like a larger bedroom. I would put my phone at the complete opposite side of the room so that when my alarm went off, I would have to actually physically get out of bed to turn the alarm off. And then on top of that, have a full glass of water right next to your phone. So you turn the alarm off and then have big glass of water, and then you're just awake, ready to kill it. Amazing,
man. It's the, this is the low hanging fruit. We have done tens of hours of life hacks talking about this sort of stuff, but yeah, you've nailed it there. If people are sleeping with their phone next to their bed, oh my God, like it is the easiest gains in the world. Just sleep with your phone outside your room. Put the charger in the kitchen. You don't want to go to sleep without your phone that's charged. Therefore, you have to charge your phone. And as long as you don't break the rule of taking the charger out of the kitchen, your phone's charging in the kitchen. Buy an alarm clock, like a radio alarm clock for £5 off Amazon. They've been around for 100 years. Like, just get one of them. And yeah, you make, there's those mats. There's mats designed. You stand up and you stand on a mat that's an alarm clock. Your alarm clock's like a little front door mat thing that goes next to your bed. And it counts down for like 10 seconds to make sure that you've stood up. I'm like, fair play to them for carving a niche in the market, but like, you can do the same thing by getting any regular alarm clock and just putting it anywhere that isn't within reach of your bed.
Yeah.
Madness.
I mean, that's quite an invention there, really. I'm sure there was something else that was similar to that, where you would have to do some kind of activity to turn the alarm off.
Rubik's Cube or something like that.
Something like that. I think it might have been like an app, but you would kind of have to do some kind of mind games or whatever, but that just seems a little bit extreme to me.
Don't want your phone in your room. It's difficult when your phone's in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's true. You mentioned life hacks there. You've done 10 episodes of that now? 11 episodes of that now. Which are your top 5 favorite life hacks?
Again, man, you are just forcing me. This is like the fucking Hunger Games here. Now you're just making me choose my own children. I'll give you 5 that come to mind. Speed up the trackpad or the mouse on your computer. So turn the sensitivity right up. Your pace around your computer screen is literally limited by how fast the mouse moves. And choosing to have me currently at 90 kilos after quite a heavy winter bulk, as opposed to having Usain Bolt or Eliud Kipchoge, is just a stupid decision. You want Eliud, right? You want him quickly moving around. You'll overshoot for a while, but so do that. Number 1, speed up your trackpad.
I've done that to like nearly everyone in the office.
Just red pilled everyone's trackpads.
I'm like, Dean, can you help me with this thing? Oh yeah, sure. Wait, hold on a minute.
Awful.
Let me just jump into your settings. And
what have you done? What have you done? I can't control your mouse.
I can't use this now. Oh no! I'm like, just give it a day or 2. You'll be fine. And
then you'll instantly be 10% quicker.
Yes, exactly.
So that's first one. Second one, sleep with your phone outside of your room. Like, I know that we've already done it, but it is the gains are ridiculous. Rolling over. I remember this human because I was that human for 5 years. Going to bed, checking my phone just before I go to bed. Terrible. Blue light, melatonin release.
I've stopped doing that as well. That is just like big no-no.
Then phone next to your bed so that if you couldn't sleep, you'd wake up. You wouldn't wake up. You'd already be awake. Roll over, open up YouTube, and then you're in a 2-hour YouTube vortex. And you're like, I went to bed at 11:30 and it's now 1:30 and I'm up at 7 o'clock. What's going on? And you hate yourself. Then you hate yourself. And all the next day you hate yourself. And you've ruined your next day. You've ruined your next day before the day's started. Like, that's almost impressive. Like, so, you know what I mean? So sleep with your phone outside of your room. What else do I like? What else is a good one? Get a steel shaker. So the Protein Works, theproteinworks.com or any other good supplement company will do one. And a couple of reasons. First off, plastic bottles contain BPA a lot of the time, even the ones that say they don't, and you get an estrogen. It's all over you. It's in your ears. It's in the CD drive of your computer. Like, it's everywhere. Steel shaker feels good, very robust, and mostly it's going to encourage you to drink more. So if you have a large container for your water, you're going to drink the container to empty, and then you can refill it. Whereas if you've got like a 250 ml, there it is. Oh, is that chili bottle?
Oh yes, it is. Oh, with the top already off because it squeaks when I unscrew it. So I don't want to, disturb.
Such a sound purist, man. Also, everyone else that's listening, Dean's got all his fancy setup and stuff like that. But the beautiful thing at the moment is I don't have to do this edit. Usually when I'm doing a podcast like this, I've then got to bounce it down, or do the mastering, send it over to Dean. Oh, Dean, have you got the WeTransfer file? Oh, it hasn't downloaded, blah, blah. This time I'm like, fucking, it's all on you. Steel shaker, increase your hydration. That's a really good one.
Or a Chili's bottle.
Or Chili's bottle, yep, also good. Alfred for Mac is a productivity assistant, a digital productivity assistant, which is probably about £30, I think, for a lifetime license. The main thing that I use it for is what's called snippets, which is an auto expander. So you can write in, you can pre-save commonly used either sentences, strings of text, or entire documents, and use a shortcut that expands out. So for instance, ADD1 is my home address, ADD2 expands out into my work address, EML expands out into my email. INV1 expands out into a 400-word podcast invite email draft, fully formatted, ready for me to just put the guest's name in and the topic areas that I'd like to speak to them about and any other information. So, Alfred, great. And it also has a clipboard manager, which means that you can have, typically on a computer, your clipboard, i.e. what you copy, only contains the last thing that you copied. Whereas with Alfred, it can have up to the last 200 entries of things that you've copied, and it'll just save them down. And it's going back to a computer now that doesn't have Alfred and has the trackpad on a normal setting. It feels like a complete different category of device. Yeah. I'm like, you might as well, your MacBook might as well be a Windows PC without this. So that's good. And then let's choose something that's more strategic. Pomodoro Technique. So the Pomodoro Technique is a productivity tool where you do 25 minutes of focused work and then take a 5-minute break. The reason that it works is you can only do one thing at one time. don't care how good you think you are at multitasking. Multitasking is literally impossible. And another thing to consider for people that deal with information overload and struggling with working out what to do next, you can only have one top priority at any one time. It's not priorities, it's priority. You can only have one top priority. That by definition, you can only have one top priority. Yeah. So do that. What's the top priority? And then you do that. And then once you've done that, you do the next one for 25 minutes. Once that's finished, you take a 5-minute break, and then you go back into it. So Be Focused Pro is one particular Pomodoro timer. I think they actually have a 50% off sale at the moment because of the COVID thing. So go and get it. It's like, change your life. It's £1.50.
I mean, I installed that like a year ago now, and it just changed my editing game like massively. I think I did a post about it at the time, and I had loads of other kind of either video editors or photo editors like, oh, this looks like it's a good thing to do. And kind of just breaking down, like, I'm going to do, say, for example, you're doing video editing, right? I'm going to do a minute of, cuts in this 25 minutes, or I'm going to do the color grade for this 25 minutes, or I'm going to retouch like 10 photos in these 25 minutes, and just breaking it down like that, you feel like you're getting so much more done.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's bring it back to an analogy about what people are dealing with at the moment. The problem that everybody has with the current lockdown, especially in the UK, but also in the US as well, and just generally globally, the problem everyone has is they don't know how long it's going to go on for. We don't like uncertainty. And if I say to you, hey man, I want you to work today hard until you can't work anymore. They're like, well, one day that might be 6 hours, one day that might be 1 hour, one day that might be 12 hours for you. And whereas with the Pomodoro technique, you're always within reaching distance of that next deadline, that next little treat. So it manipulates our sacrifice reward mentality really nicely, which I think is great. It's another reason why, here's one for you actually, bonus round. Bonus round is carb backloading. So if you are someone who is potentially looking to go on a restrictive diet, i.e. be in a deficit, lose some weight, perhaps just reduce the amount of carbs that you're eating, the simplest way, so you can do fasting, you can try and do keto, you can try and do all like fancy bullshit, but simply the easiest way to do it is to go carb free until lunchtime. If you don't have any carbs in the morning until lunchtime, it means that you have more carbs left for you later in the day. There's a whole bunch of physiological responses as well. Your insulin sensitivity changes from a morning to a night, which means that you're going to partition the nutrients more effectively as you get towards the evening in any case. But the main reason is just it manipulates sacrifice reward very well. Like no one in the history of ever has cheated on their diet before 11 a.m. That just doesn't happen. No one goes, oh, do you know what it is? I got into the office, had a coffee, and just thought, fuck it, I need a Mars bar. Like, that doesn't happen. They need a Mars bar.
I mean, I have done that in the past, but
yeah, but you're naturally lean, Dean. You walk around abs lean all year round. So, yeah, most people, when they cheat on their diet, think about it. People are listening. Think about when you cheat on your diet. When do you do it? You maybe do it on the way home from work, just after you've done something difficult. Maybe just after the gym. Please don't do it after the gym. Just get a good protein shake that you enjoy, and that will satiate you and fill you up. Or it might be on an evening time. You finished your day. I'll just walk to the shop. I'll just get some, such and such has got birthday cake in still from the other week, whatever it might be. Like, that's fine. If you've done a whole big day of not eating carbs, and then even you could push it towards, well, I might not have any carbs until sort of 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., push it even further back. And yeah, it's a good way to make sure that your energy levels are nice and stable. Don't have too many sugars floating around. You're not smashing it, waking up, pumping a big coffee loaded with sugar or honey or whatever into yourself, and a big bowl of sugary cereal. And then you get to 11 o'clock, you got to have another coffee just to counteract the insulin dump that you've got on the other side. And you go slowly going like hyperglycemic, just sat in your chair like a vegetable. That's what you need. So there you go. That's your bonus round. There's 6 for you.
Cool. I started using decaf coffee now, because I started having like a coffee a day. And for me, that's quite a lot of caffeine. So I switched to decaf, and it's just the Oosburn Coffee Company. Yeah, I think they just do one decaf.
So you post it in the Modern Wisdom group here.
It is just like, beautiful. I feel like I'm so fresh all day now, because I'm getting no caffeine basically.
What's your blending process? What are you using?
So I just get the bag, which is just already ground beans, and then I'll use a V60 pour over kit thing. And it's just, it looks very fancy.
Amazon, people want to get
Amazon,
them?
like 20 quid or something. I got it from my mum for Christmas last year, I think, or the year before.
Still going. Do you need filter papers for that?
Yeah, you need filter papers, but just buy like 200. Cool. And just do a little pour over. Just watch a video on YouTube on how to do it. And after you've done it like 200 times, it's pretty. And then
what do you do? So do you take that into work, or are you drinking that upon the morning?
I just have that at home as like part of my morning routine. So I'll like make coffee and then I'm at the desk.
Cool. Yeah, man. Again, with that, Ben Greenfield, who I spoke to this week, one of the best biohackers on the planet, he is on the prudent side in terms of his caffeine consumption, which I think all of us are. When I say all of us, I mean me, you, Johnny, Yusuf, George, and Jordan, which is the Modern Wisdom Project, essentially. But he and what he said was, for people who are avid caffeine users and they're like, nah, fuck you, I'm having me fucking espresso in the morning and me double espresso on a midday and blah blah, and then an energy drink at lunchtime, and then a pre-workout before the gym, and then I don't know what it is, right, but I'm struggling to sleep at the moment. And you're like, I think it might be the 5 espressos that you've had and the knocko that you had at like 9 p.m. But people that are like that really don't want to let go of their coffee, the cadence to do it in is to do 3 weeks on, 1 week off, if you can do it, because what you don't want to do is down-regulate your adenosine receptors. So let me red pill your audience on morning stuff, right? So upon waking, the system which is active is your adrenal system, not your adenosine system. So adenosine is what caffeine binds to, and it basically stops you from feeling tired. It doesn't actually make you any more awake. It does some stuff to like speed up your heart and stuff. But the tiredness effect is it binds to the things that make you feel tired and stops the things that make you feel tired binding to them. Does that make sense? So
it does.
You do that. An alternative on a morning, my favorite, pint of very cold water, ideally from the fridge, ideally filtered, with lemon juice, 25 pence for like, it's in the bakery aisle in any supermarket, pre-done lemon juice, big squirt of lemon juice and a little bit of salt. And it sounds disgusting, but it's really refreshing. It's biting. And what it'll do is it will help to manipulate your adrenal system, which is what's working upon the morning, as opposed to your adenosine system. And then when you get to work, you can have a coffee. This is me presuming most people work in that kind of typical job, normal routine, 9 to 5. When you get that maybe mid-morning slump, you can have the coffee that would usually be number 2. You can have that as number 1. You're going to downregulate your adenosine receptors less. You're going to spike your heart rate a lot less as well. You're still going to be feeling awake because you've had your lemon salt water on a morning. Ideally, if you can move as well, just a little bit, like a 5-minute walk would be great. And you'll feel great. And also you're consuming less caffeine. Like there's some, well, it's good for insulin sensitivity. And there's very good studies that say that people that take coffee live longer. And you're like, yeah, I get it. But think about your day-to-day experience of how fucking hard it is to get to sleep. I don't want to have 180 milligrams of caffeine, which is what's in a knockout, 150 milligrams of caffeine. I don't want to have that in my body at 6 p.m. at night. I'm happy to take that as a pre-workout if I train in the morning, but the half-life of caffeine is 9 hours.
Yeah.
That's 9 hours.
On the decaf now as well.
Man, 9 hours. So you think, it's all right, it's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're like, right, okay. At 11 o'clock at night, half of that caffeine's still in your system. There's some people that are fast metabolizers of caffeine, but I'm not one of them. I've had my bloods done. I'm not. So yeah, set a cutoff point, and my advice would be make it midday. Make it midday, sort of 12:30, and then it means that by the time that you get into sleep, most of that caffeine's out your system. Adenosine receptors aren't firing, and if you can't let go of your coffee addiction, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. And if you get headaches, if you find that you're getting headaches during that 1 week off, extend it.
Yeah,
just keep going.
This is just heavily aimed at Callum, who's the animator at the Social Co. And I always have a go at him because he's always having a monster every day. He has pre-workout before he goes to the gym after work all the time.
Zero
and
cal,
he's always
Monster White.
shaking.
Has he got sugars?
Monster White, I presume, because that's what he has on his desk.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, that's at least he's got. He's halfway there. There we go. There's another life hack. This is so basic. This life hack is the life hack that gets you through the door In fact, no, this gets you into the queue to get into the door, right? To be a part of Life Hacks Club, right? And it is, if you are still drinking full fat sodas, you drastically need to make a change, because it's the emptiest calories in the world. I don't give a fuck what you say. Diet Coke tastes the same as normal Coke and might even be a little bit better. Like, normal Coke leaves a coating, a syrupy coating everywhere, including outside of your body somehow. It like gets into you and then comes out of you again. And you're like, what the fuck's this? It's that full fat Coke I had earlier on. So diet drinks, man, like, don't worry about the aspartame in it. It is one of the best researched compounds on the planet. It's fine. Put down the full fat drinks. Pepsi
Max all the way.
Pepsi Max is a beast. Pepsi Max got some caffeine in them. You got to be careful.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean,
40 mgs of
not as much as a White Monster though. So I'd rather have the Pepsi Max.
Not as much as a White Monster. No, that's true.
Like it's pretty heavy, because I was having coffee on the morning and then Monster at lunchtime, and I was just like shaking like an old man. So
I bet you.
Yeah, so I cut the Monster out, put the go down to a decaf coffee, and
then when you need it, when you decide to reintroduce it, it's like you see a noticeable performance benefit.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
Opposed to it being what you need to operate just as a human.
Yeah, massive change. Like, it's crazy. So during this, back to the topic at hand, which is lockdown. What have you been watching, listening, and reading? During the lockdown period.
Cool. So a lot, which is nice. My morning routine, which was already fairly swollen, is now very turgid. It's like one of those burritos where you get double everything, and it's like bursting at the seams.
Those are my favorite kind.
They're fantastic. So reading The Moral Animal by Robert Wright, phenomenal book about evolutionary psychology, and it's just red pilling me left, right, and center. Let me see if I can drop something which is not going to get me in trouble, because a lot of it is to do with intergender dynamics, relationship dynamics, the evolutionary basis for male and female roles in society and stuff like that from a scientific standpoint. Okay, so the worst age for your son or daughter to die at, from an evolutionary standpoint, would be just before puberty. So if your children were to die as a child, as a baby, a couple of years old, hugely traumatic. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but they haven't had the objective amount of time invested into them to elicit the same amount of pain as someone that's a little bit older. And then someone who's in 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way up to real old age, it's almost accepted. All of us are going to die. It's the one thing that we all know. And from an evolutionary standpoint, the argument is, and this is actually reflected in Charles Darwin's life, which is what the book uses as one of the examples. He had a daughter. He had a number of children that died. I think he had 10 children, and 7 of them survived to adulthood. And one of them was perhaps as a baby. Maybe one had got through into adulthood, but one, his favorite, I think the girl was called Emma, died at 10 or 11 years old. And the reason is, the evolutionary justification for why this happens is that your genetics, your body, naturally, your brain understands that human, which you've invested so much time, so much energy into, was just about to continue your genetic legacy, because they were just about to hit puberty. They were just about to become fertile. They were just about to do that, but they didn't. So it's fitness enhancing. It makes sense for us to fear that period right there. That's the worst period from an evolutionary standpoint. So imagine a book that drops that kind of mic every other page for about 600 pages. And that's the book that you've got. Might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's unbelievably well written. Moral Animal by Robert Wright. Currently reading John Boyd, the fighter pilot who changed the Air Force, which is about this guy who was a fighter pilot in the late 40s through to the 70s, 80s. And he just came up with this brand new theory of how aircraft should be designed. It was completely obnoxious, like a total tool, but managed to make it through. He was in the Pentagon. Like, he used to put his cigar out on the tie of generals and stuff like that who didn't disagree with him. Yeah. So
wow.
He's a cool dude. So brilliant book. Other things that are cool. Ben Shapiro's podcast is fantastic. So right at the moment, people need, like, they want to try and have all of their information about COVID condensed down. And because it's moving so quickly, you have to have someone that is publishing very, very regularly and isn't getting distracted by other stuff. And Ben Shapiro, the Ben Shapiro Show, publishes every day, Monday to Friday. In the UK, you're actually going to get it Tuesday to Saturday because of how late it goes. But 5 days a week, and because he's doing it 5 days a week, the longest loo that you ever have to deal with is the 2-day weekend, but usually just 24 hours since yesterday. So he's a great resource. I've been getting into the Knowledge Project by Shane Parrish podcast, fantastic. Joe Rogan's podcast, still doing the business. Eric Weinstein's episode that he's just done on there was phenomenal. Obviously, Modern Wisdom. Subscribe. Link in show notes below. Good subscriber count.
You can say that all you want, but I've got control of that. So.
Over the edit, yeah, motherfucker. So that's kind of it for podcasts. Sam Harris is doing some all right stuff on the podcast at the moment. Yeah, I think that's around about it for podcasts. Then watching Tiger King was good. Really enjoyed it.
Have you seen every episode?
Yeah, I finished it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the episodes were weak.
Yeah, they were.
So it's like the first 2 were great. I think the third one perhaps might have been shit, and then they did another 2 good ones, and then the 6th one was shit, and then it finished fairly strong.
Yeah. It's definitely an eye opener. Did you know that Joe Exotic's husband, the guy who had 3 teeth, he actually he got veneers done like very, very soon after. I think it was actually while they were filming it, and they filmed him getting them done, but they didn't put it in the final.
Man,
no, they didn't put it in the cut.
Did you know that Joe Exotic doesn't sing his own songs?
You know what? There was something funny about that. It kind of seemed like it was a little bit off.
Bro. Doesn't sing his own songs.
No way.
Fuck? What the fuck? How can you trust a man that doesn't sing his own songs? Like, he's obviously guilty. Yeah. So he paid some fellas, some recording artists to go and do it for him.
I'm actually not surprised. It sounds completely different.
Yeah. True. And then there was that bit where he's singing a cappella at his ex-husband's wake.
Oh my God.
It was brutal. So anyway,
can you imagine that happening? You've killed yourself because you don't want to be with this guy, and then he's singing at your funeral.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's the same. That's the equivalent of getting a "we're sorry to see you go" email when you unsubscribe from a mailing list. But this is what I was trying to escape. Okay,
this
is
away.
Why I'm not here anymore.
Please,
yeah, leave me alone. So Tiger King was good. The Devil Next Door is great. The Vietnam War by Ken Burns is like a 8-part documentary series about the Vietnam War, with some episodes topping in at 2.5 hours. And it's just, I didn't know how the Vietnam War started. I didn't understand anything about it. That was really, really cool. Altered Carbon, sci-fi fiction kind of thing. That's been great. But I've been I set myself, as we all do, even the people that are in the Modern Wisdom Project who aren't that big into New Year's resolutions, I'm not that big into New Year's resolutions. Resolutions are bigger than most people's. So those of us that really go like full phallus, like me, I'm doing no fast food for 2020, but I'm also doing no TV after I have a shower, which is usually around about 8:30 p.m. So on a nighttime now, I've made a rule with myself that I don't watch TV, which means that my reading time's gone up, because it's either I read or like just sit and look at the wall, because I don't use my phone either. So I'm like, that's been a really good hack, actually.
So are you no phone use after a certain time and no
phone
TV
use after the shower? No phone use after the shower either. Yeah, so I tend to shower at night. Oh, here's one for nightlife workers. Probably doesn't work so much if you take more care of your appearance than I do. But what I do before I go to work is I have my shower. I shower on a night, first off, because I don't need to shower on a morning to like do my hair or whatever. I shower before I go to work. so that when I get back in from work at 3 a.m, I don't then need to go and have a shower before I go to bed.
Yeah.
But it does mean that I have to be like extra careful about people smoking near me. I'm like, mate, I'm not so bothered about my lungs, but I've just fucking washed my hair. Yeah, exactly. My mum's just done my laundry. So yeah, I mean, that's been a fair bit of the stuff that I've been consuming. Other things that are on my reading list: Essentialism by Greg McKeown. That's to come. I think you've done that, haven't you? Essentialism, Greg McKeown.
Yes, I did. I think I actually recommended it to you, and you said it was in your list already.
Yeah. So I need to. I really want to do. Chasing Excellence by Ben Bergeron, the podcast and the book. A little bit more for fitness-based people, but it's fantastic. Like very, very applicable. Lots of takeaways. Even less conversational than our life hacks episodes. Like very, very focused on just giving you the actions that you can take that will make you lead a upgraded life. So yeah, there's a small selection.
Cool. So I think we'll end on. I wanted to ask you what your top 3 tips were for people working from home during lockdown.
Cool. I like it. Well, I mean, first off, a lot of the things that we've gone through in this episode, the life hacks and stuff like that. Like, I promise I'm not just this walking autistic repository of like rote memorization facts. Like this isn't just what we do, right? We discuss kind of concepts and things on the podcast a lot as well, but Dean's obviously trying to turn me into robot dictionary definition glossary of life hacks 101 here. So let's do it.
I mean, you've got them all remembered. I know you do.
Dude, that's true. So my point is, if you've been listening to the podcast, which you should have been, and your work and life balance have now not been separated, they've been pushed together, especially if you're working from home. So a lot of the things that we're talking about that will upgrade your life will also upgrade your work. Like if you're not sufficiently well slept because you don't have a stable sleep and wake cycle, because you don't have your boss breathing down your neck, because you haven't set yourself a routine, or because you've got your phone next to your bed, or because you're eating too many carbs in the morning, or you having too much caffeine, all the stuff that we've said, right? That will impact your ability to perform at work, which is a bad thing.
Absolutely.
So first off, consider your entire life now contributing toward your performance in any field. As a mother, as a housemate, as a whatever, pick your domain. Like you want to be the best that you can. But working from home, stable sleep and wake cycle, definitely pick a time. You can have different time on a weekend, but pick a time. You wouldn't rock up to work an hour late in your pajamas with your laptop under your arm, that's still bleary-eyed with a oats in a tub or something. That's not what you do. So don't do that at home. We've been detached from normality an awful lot during isolation. Your goal should be to remove the gap. You should make life as normal as you can. How much normality can I have? Well, maybe I could get dressed. Maybe I get dressed for work most days. Like maybe you could wear slightly more comfies, like dress down Friday or something. You could pretend it's that. So first one, stable sleep and wake cycle. Second one, get dressed for work. Third one, have an area that you work in. Even if you are in the smallest house, a studio flat in London, where your bathroom's also your kitchen's also your bedroom's also your front door. Like there's a table somewhere, there's a chair somewhere, there's a way that you can construct your workspace so that you can segment work and not work and everything else which isn't work, right? And this is a problem that people have when they're still in the office. Oh, do you know what it is? I just take me work home with me so much, and I'll be 9:30 at night and I'm still doing my emails. And you're like, right, okay, if that's a problem when you have a designated office space that you have to drive to and from, how bad do you think it is when your now designated office space is your bed? Like, because you're not leaving your bed to do work so that you can not get out of work to get back into bed, right? So have a designated office space. Ideally, great way to do this, you will have boxes of a PlayStation 4 or books or whatever it might be lying around. Use your kitchen counter. So you'll have a fairly high kitchen table somewhere. Like get yourself there, stack some books up, put your laptop at a good height. Spend 10 quid on a Bluetooth external keyboard and mouse or a USB external keyboard and mouse, and then you can really ramp it up. But even less than that, nice standing position in the kitchen, consistently getting waters. You're in nice, bright, airy room. Make sure that you're getting some sunshine. Exercise every day. Like, this has nothing to do with work, but if you exercise every day, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel more awake. You're also going to feel more asleep when it's time to go to sleep. And really, like, what else you got to do? You know, like your commute to work. I don't know what the average commute to work is, but I would guess it's probably maybe 30 to 40 minutes. Like,
yeah, I think so.
It's the UK. You've just gained an hour to an hour and 20 minutes. And for some people, like 2 hours, especially if they're traveling in rush hour traffic, like, you've just gained an hour and 20 minutes every day. How are you going to reinvest it? Oh, well, you know, I just spend a bit more time in bed scrolling through Snapchat. It's like, no, fuck that. Like, you have the opportunity right now to enter this period, which is supposed to be a curse bestowed on all of us. Oh, it's so challenging, it's so hard. It can be, but you can reframe it as an opportunity. What are the things that you wish you had more time to do? Oh, I wish I had more time to spend with my kids. You've just got an hour and 20 minutes every single day that you can spend with your kids. That's, you know, and I quote, with parents, priceless. Also probably doing their heads in a little bit. But, you know, when you go back to work and you're traveling around, you're not being home for 3 weeks and you miss your family. Remember what it feels like then, you know? So you've got the opportunity right now to enter lockdown as one person and come out a better version of that. You don't just need to survive this period. You can actually thrive. You can thrive and flourish instead.
Very well put. Chris, thank you very much for joining me on the social conversation. Again, it's been a bit weird being on opposite sides of cameras, but I think we've pulled it off.
Enjoyable, man. I'm really impressed. I think you guys are doing great work over there. Like, it's like watching my son grow up to play football on the big stage or something like that. It's awesome, man. I'm really proud of what you're doing. I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers, bro.